I wish I could marry her.
Your wish is accepted.
The moment that changed everything was not a battle, not an explosion, not even a scream. It was a whisper, a human whisper that never should have existed inside an alien throne complex. Eron Vale had spent his life perfecting one skill, staying unnoticed. On Theora Prime, invisibility kept humans alive. He was a systems engineer, third class, assigned to interior infrastructure. No rank, no clearance, no future. His days were spent inside walls, beneath floors, repairing conduits that powered an empire that did not belong to him. He spoke only when spoken to. He looked at the ground when Lyrians passed, and he never, ever thought personal thoughts out loud. Until that moment, I wish I could marry her. The words slipped free while his hands were deep inside a faulty luminal relay. He meant nothing by them. It was not desire, not fantasy, just an impossible thought sparked by exhaustion and the silent grandeur of the palace wing. Then the corridor went quiet, too quiet. The hum of the relays softened. His tools stopped vibrating. Eron felt the air change, like pressure before a storm. He straightened slowly, heart already racing, because only one kind of presence made silence feel heavy. Royalty. Behind him stood Princess Salifcorin. He knew her from banners, broadcasts, and whispered warnings among human workers. Heir to the Lyrian Dominion, supreme commander in waiting. The alien noble said to have crushed rebellions before they started. Tall, luminous, composed. Her skin carried a faint iridescence, like moonlight trapped under crystal. Her eyes were silver pools that reflected far too much. She had heard him. Eron turned fully, every survival instinct screaming. He dropped to one knee without being told, head bowed, breath shallow. Execution would have been efficient. Public, maybe. An example. But none of that happened. Instead, the princess spoke, her voice calm, precise, terrifyingly gentle. Then I accept. Eron's mind fractured around the words. Accepted what? A confession. A joke. A crime. He lifted his head before permission reached his brain. My pardon? He said, barely louder than a breath. Princess Salith did not move closer. She did not retreat. Power radiated from stillness instead. Your wish, she said. You voiced it. Under Lyrian law, a declared intent before a witness of sovereign blood carries weight. Eron's stomach dropped. I didn't mean. I'm just maintenance staff. Human. I don't even have citizen status. Correct, she replied, which is why this is interesting. Servitors paused along the hall's edges. Guards stiffened but did not intervene. This was not a mistake. This was deliberate. Salith tilted her head, studying him the way one examined a weapon for balance. Do you know what humans are called within my empire, Eron Vale? His name. She knew his name. He swallowed. Non-aligned labor caste. She allowed the smallest curve of a smile. That is the polite term. Fear burned into his chest. Princess, if I offended. You intrigued me. She interrupted. There's a difference. She gestured once, and the relay he had been repairing sealed itself, fully functional. Technology answered her without touch. You wished for union with someone you believed unreachable. You did so without ambition, without calculation. Her eyes locked onto his. That honesty is rare. Eron's pulse roared. Humans did not intrigue Lyrian heirs. Humans obeyed. They endured. Around them, the palace seemed to lean inward, listening. Salith's voice lowered. I will formalize acceptance at the convocation. Until then, you will remain under my protection. Protection. From what, he wondered. Then she turned away, her presence receding like a tide, leaving chaos behind. Guards stared. Servitors whispered. Eron remained frozen, the echo of her words looping in his skull. Marriage was not a fantasy anymore. It was a sentence. Hold on, before we get into the real stuff. I want to know, what are you doing at this exact moment while hearing my voice? Drop it in the comments. I read more than you think. Because what Eron did not yet understand was this. The Empire had just heard a human wish, and nothing would ever be small again. By the next cycle, the palace no longer felt like a place of stone and light. It felt like a loaded weapon, Eron Vale discovered this the moment he stepped out of the maintenance lift, and every conversation around him stopped. Not paused. Stopped. Lyrian courtiers, armored sentinels, and pale gold servitors all turned, just slightly, toward the human who was not supposed to exist beyond utility corridors. Whispers followed him like static. That's him. The human. The one she accepted. Eron kept his eyes forward. That had always worked before. But today it did nothing. The weight on his back grew heavier with every step, as if the palace itself were measuring him and finding him lacking. 2 royal guards fell into position beside him without explanation. Escort or containment. Neither spoke. Their armor shimmered with defensive fields worth more than Eron's lifetime ration credits. He resisted the urge to run. Humans did not run in the Lyrian court. Humans complied. They led him upward, past floors he had never serviced, past halls whose ceilings displayed living star maps of conquered systems. Each level whispered a single truth louder than the last. He did not belong here. At the apex level, the doors parted soundlessly. Inside waited a chamber shaped like a half-moon, open to space through a transparent shield. Stars drifted beyond, distant and indifferent. Princess Salith Corin stood alone at the center. She wore no crown, no ceremonial armor, only a dark, flowing mantle that absorbed light instead of reflecting it. The effect was unsettling, like gravity had learned how to walk. "Approach," she said. Eron obeyed, stopping exactly where the floor's pattern suggested. His palms were damp. His heartbeat felt visible. "You are afraid," Salith observed. "Yes," Eron replied before thinking better of it. Honesty had already condemned him once. Lying now felt pointless. "Good," she said. "Fear implies comprehension." She turned to face the stars. "You spoke a wish without intent. That alone would have doomed you under old law." Old law. Past tense. That did not comfort him. "But the Dominion is strained," she continued. "My father's reign unified systems through force. Mine must hold them through legitimacy." Eron frowned despite himself. "And that involves me." She looked back at him. "You represent something the Empire has never successfully controlled." "A liability?" "A variable," she corrected. "Humans adapt. You improvise. You survive conditions that break more refined species. You do not submit naturally to destiny." Eron's throat tightened. "Princess, I repair power lines." "Yes," she said. "And yet you crossed 12 restricted sectors in 6 months without a single infraction. You reduced energy loss in the Eastern Wing by 14% using unauthorized rerouting." His eyes widened. "You monitored maintenance metrics." "I monitor everything," she replied calmly, "including you." The silence stretched. Somewhere, a star flared and died. "This marriage," Eron said carefully. "It would make me a symbol." "Yes, a target." "Yes, an excuse." Salith stepped closer. Not threatening, not comforting, simply inevitable. "You would be protected." "By you. By the crown." He exhaled slowly. "That won't stop everyone." Her gaze sharpened. "No, it will reveal them." That was when Eron understood. This was not romance. This was strategy. "And if I refuse?" he asked. The chamber cooled perceptibly. "Then the wish remains unclaimed," she said. "And others will ask why." He imagined it then. Human quarters searched. Co-workers questioned. Accidents reclassified as failures. The Empire did not need to punish him. Curiosity would do the work. "You have no leverage," he said quietly. Salith's expression softened, not with pity, but with respect. "You are incorrect. You have one thing I cannot fabricate." "What?" She met his eyes. "Authenticity." A chime echoed through the chamber. A priority signal. Salith's gaze flicked upward as sigils appeared in the air. Convocation alert. High Council assembly. Emergency classification. "They move faster than expected," she said. Eron's stomach dropped. "Who moves?" "The houses who fear what you represent," she replied. "Those who profit from humans remaining invisible." The doors began to seal. "You will be placed in provisional residence," Salith continued. "Effective immediately. From this moment on, your survival intersects with imperial politics. Eron laughed once, sharp and humorless. I whispered one sentence. And the Empire answered, she said. Outside the chamber, alarms did not sound. They never did for coups. Only for disasters. And disasters were already underway. The first attempt on Eron Vale's life came quietly. No alarms. No soldiers bursting through doors. No dramatic betrayal. Just a routine systems check request flagged as high priority. Routed directly to his new quarters. That alone should have warned him. The residence assigned to him was not a cell, though it felt like one. Smooth obsidian walls. Adaptive lighting. A panoramic window that displayed Theora Prime's skyline, like a painting no one could touch. Luxury designed to restrain rather than comfort. Eron stared at the request hovering above his wrist console. Sector 9. Auxiliary thermal regulators. The kind of work he had done 1,000 times. Too normal. His escort detail waited at the door. 2 Lyrian sentinels, standing motionless. Their presence should have reassured him. Instead, unease crawled under his skin. I'll be quick, he said. One sentinel inclined its head. You will not be alone. They walked the corridor in silence. Every step echoed louder than it should have. Eron's mind replayed Princess Saeletha's words. Your survival intersects with imperial politics. Sector 9 lay beneath the eastern spire, an area rarely accessed except during seasonal recalibration. As they descended, ambient light dimmed. The air grew cooler. Has this system reported faults? Eron asked. No, the sentinel replied. That was confirmation enough. The access hatch sealed behind them with a soft hiss. The chamber beyond was cramped, lined with conduits pulsing faint blue. Eron knelt, tools already in hand, muscle memory guiding him. The moment he disengaged the first panel, the temperature dropped sharply. Warning glyphs flashed. Pressure variance. Oxygen displacement. Eron's breath fogged. This isn't a regulator issue, he said, voice tight. This is a purge sequence. The sentinel stepped forward, then froze. A thin beam of light pierced its helm, clean and precise. The Lyrian collapsed without a sound. Eron spun just as the second sentinel reached for its weapon. Too late. The walls shimmered, and the air itself seemed to bend. A cloaked figure emerged from nothingness, blade already drawn. Not Lyrian. Thinner. Faster. Council assassin. Eron had seconds. No armor. No weapon. Just a half-open panel and a lifetime of fixing what others broke. He lunged forward and ripped free the conduit he had just exposed. Energy screamed. The chamber flooded with white-blue light as the assassin's cloaking field destabilized. The figure staggered, shrieking in a language Eron didn't understand. Eron slammed the panel shut. Emergency containment engaged. The assassin slammed against the invisible field, trapped inside a rapidly freezing pocket of space. Its eyes locked on Eron's as ice crept across its armor. You were never meant to matter, it hissed. Then it went still. Eron collapsed against the wall, shaking. His lungs burned. His hands felt numb. Seconds later, the chamber filled with armed sentinels. Princess Saeletha entered last, her expression unreadable. She took in the scene in a single glance. You adapted, she said. Eron laughed weakly. I panicked. She stepped closer to the frozen assassin, studying it as one might inspect a failed experiment. How's Viral? She said softly. They waste no time. She turned to him. Are you injured? No, he said. Then, after a beat, I think. She nodded. This will not be the last attempt. Comforting, Eron muttered. Something shifted then. Subtle. The way Saeletha looked at him was no longer purely analytical. There was calculation, yes, but also something else. Recognition. They underestimated you, she said. Eron pushed himself upright. They assumed I'd wait for help. Lyrians would have, she replied. Humans do not. Silence stretched between them, heavy but not hostile. This changes your status, Saeletha continued. Publicly. Eron's stomach twisted. Meaning the council will demand visibility, she said. They cannot eliminate what the populace can see. I don't want visibility. She met his gaze. Neither did I once. A calm signal chimed. Priority crimson. Salif listened, her expression darkening. The High Council has invoked the right of provenance. Eron frowned. I don't know what that is. It is a trial, she said. One designed to expose weakness. Whose? She paused. Just long enough. Yours, she said. And by extension mine. The frozen assassin shattered as containment released. Fragments clattering to the floor like broken glass. They will put you before the Empire, Salith said, and they will expect you to fail. Eron looked at the shards, then back at her. And if I don't? For the first time, Salith smiled without restraint. Then, she said, they will have to rewrite what it means to be human. The right of provenance was not held in a courtroom. That would have implied fairness. Instead, Eron Vale was escorted into the Crucible Chamber, a vast amphitheater carved from obsidian alloy and suspended above the capital city like a judgment made solid. Millions would watch through Imperial relays, billions more across occupied systems. This was not a trial meant to discover truth. It was a performance meant to confirm superiority. Eron stood alone at the center platform. No restraints, no weapons, no armor, just a simple gray tunic that marked him as what he was meant to be. Human. Above him, the High Council materialized one by one in floating sigil thrones. 12 houses, 12 ancient powers. Their forms varied, tall, scaled, luminous, angular, but their intent was unified. Princess Salith occupied a separate dais, elevated but isolated. He noticed she did not look at him. Not yet. The herald spoke, voice amplified across space and mind alike. By ancient accord, the right of provenance is invoked to test legitimacy. Subject Eron Vale. Species human. Status claimed. Claimed. The word echoed. A murmur rippled through the audience feeds. Humans rarely receive descriptors beyond labor or asset. Subject will demonstrate value. The herald continued. Failure results in nullification of claim. Nullification, not death. Worse, erasure. The platform beneath Eron shifted. First demonstration, the herald announced. Cognition under pressure. The chamber dissolved. Eron found himself standing on a narrow bridge of light, suspended over nothingness. Gravity fluctuated. Wind screamed past, though there was no source. Before him appeared a projection, a Lyrian child, crying, trapped beneath fallen debris. A choice construct. He recognized it immediately. A timer began to count down. Eron's pulse spiked. The bridge shook violently. Every instinct screamed at him to drop, to cling, to survive. He knelt instead. His hands moved quickly, methodically, adjusting the light bridge frequency. Humans had learned long ago that alien systems favored elegance over redundancy. The bridge stabilized. He reached the projection, lifting debris that weighed nothing but felt heavy. The child vanished as the timer expired. Silence. Simulation acknowledged, the herald said. Secondary variable. The environment shifted again. Now Eron stood in a command chamber. Alarms blared. A holographic star map flickered, showing a failing defense line. 3 civilian sectors would fall if the fleet repositioned. 1 military outpost would be sacrificed. A voice boomed. Choose. Eron closed his eyes for half a second, long enough to breathe. Then he began rerouting. He did not choose between the given options. He rewrote the scenario, diverting auxiliary drones, overloading short-range relays, creating a chain reaction that bought time at the cost of efficiency. The alarms quieted. A counselor hissed. That solution was not provided. Eron looked up, jaw set. You asked me to demonstrate value, not obedience. The feeds exploded with reaction. Human enclaves leaned forward. Non-aligned species murmured. Princess Salith finally looked at him. The third test came without warning. Pain. It was not physical at first. It was memory. Loss. The faces of humans Eron had known who never made it off-world. Systems that failed because repairs were delayed. Lives reduced to acceptable losses. The chamber pressed inward, amplifying guilt, regret, helplessness. Lyrians endured pain by compartmentalization, by hierarchy. Humans did not have that luxury. Eron dropped to one knee, breath ragged. Yield, the herald intoned. Yield and the right ends. Eron laughed softly through clenched teeth. That's the trick, he said. Humans don't get to yield. He rose, shaking, and stepped forward into the pressure instead of away from it. The construct shattered. The crucible chamber reassembled. The counselors stirred, unsettled. Right concluded. The herald said after a long pause. Princess Salith descended from her dais. She stood beside Eron, close enough that he could feel the faint warmth radiating from her. She raised her voice, calm and lethal. You invoked this right to expose weakness, she said. You revealed adaptability. A counselor bristled. This changes nothing. Salith turned, eyes blazing silver. It changes everything. She placed a hand on Eron's shoulder. The claim stands, she declared. And now, so does the alliance. The audience feeds erupted. Eron exhaled, the weight of billions pressing down on him. This was no longer survival. This was escalation. The Empire did not erupt into chaos. It calcified. That was always the Lyrian way. Within hours of the right of provenance, official statements flooded the relays. Carefully worded, perfectly balanced, empty of truth. The High Council acknowledged the outcome while quietly reallocating fleets, resources, and influence. They could not challenge the claim openly, so they prepared to suffocate it indirectly. Eron Vale felt the shift immediately. His provisional residence became permanent, larger, more ornate, surrounded by layers of security that no longer pretended to be subtle. Every meal was tested, every corridor monitored, every word recorded. He was safe, which meant he was trapped. Princess Salith joined him that evening, dismissing the guards with a gesture. When the door sealed, the silence between them felt different than before. Less calculated, more human. You should be resting, she said. Eron leaned against the viewport, staring down at the city lights far below. If I rest, I think I'll start asking questions I don't want answered. She approached slowly, then asked him while awake. He turned. Was this always the plan? Salith did not pretend to misunderstand. The wish accelerated it. She said, but yes, the Empire is approaching fracture. I require leverage the Council cannot predict. And I'm that leverage. You are proof, she corrected. That value is not confined to bloodline. Eron laughed quietly. You almost make it sound noble. Her gaze hardened. Do not mistake necessity for cruelty. I would not have proceeded if I believed you incapable. That's not comforting. It should be. A soft chime interrupted them. Unauthorized access attempt. Then another. Then three more. Salith's posture shifted instantly. Not fear. Readiness. They are testing boundaries, she said. Eron frowned. Who? The military bloc, she replied. They cannot attack you directly, but they can undermine perception. The viewport changed, replacing the cityscape with a live broadcast. A Lyrian admiral stood before a fleet assembly, voice booming. The council has allowed sentiment to override tradition. A human consort weakens the throne. Murmurs rippled through the gathered forces. Eron's chest tightened. This is propaganda. Yes, Salith said, and it will spread. The broadcast shifted again, this time to human quarters. Overcrowded, underlit, familiar. A commentator spoke of favoritism, of betrayal, of one human elevated while millions remained expendable. Eron's hands clenched. They're turning everyone against everyone. Divide and control, Salith said softly. An old tactic. He looked at her. And what happens when they succeed? She met his gaze evenly. Then the Empire burns, and something else rises. That answer unsettled him more than any threat. Later that night, Eron stood alone in the residence's inner chamber. Sleep refused to come. His mind replayed the rite, the assassin, the broadcasts. A private message appeared on his console, unencrypted, from unknown. You survived the tests. That was not expected. Eron's pulse spiked. He typed back cautiously. Who is this? A pause. Then, someone who believes the Empire fears you for the wrong reason. Another message followed immediately. Humans do not just adapt. They inspire adaptation. That terrifies static systems. Eron stared at the words. Princess, he called. Salith appeared moments later, eyes narrowing as she read the exchange. This is not council protocol. Is it a trap? Everything is, she said. Then, after a beat. But this one is different. Another message appeared. If you want to protect your people, stop being a symbol. Become a catalyst. Coordinates followed. Deep within the palace. Restricted beyond even Salith's usual clearance. Eron looked at her. You knew about this, didn't you? Her silence was answer enough. There are factions within the Empire that see opportunity in you, she said finally. Not all of them benign. And you let them reach me. Yes, she said, because if I control every variable, I become predictable. Eron exhaled slowly. So what am I supposed to do? Salith placed a small device in his hand. A locator. A failsafe. Or both. Choose, she said. Remain protected. Or step into the machinery and risk being crushed. The palace lights dimmed slightly as if listening. Eron closed his fingers around the device. For the first time since the whisper, the choice was truly his. Eron Vale did not inform the guards. He did not leave a message. He did not ask permission. That alone would have shocked Illyrian court if they had known. The coordinates led him downward, far below the ceremonial wings and council chambers, into strata of the palace, most believed abandoned. The air grew colder, older. Systems here hummed with outdated frequencies, the kind that predated modern imperial oversight, the kind that did not report to anyone. The passage ended at a door without markings. No sigils, no guards, just a manual interface. Eron pressed his palm against it. The door opened. Inside waited a circular chamber lined with holographic archives, species profiles, economic models, war projections. At the center stood 3 figures, 2 Lyrian, 1 human. The human woman stepped forward first. She wore no uniform, no insignia. Her hair was streaked with gray despite her relatively young face. Her eyes were sharp, assessing. My name is Mara Kell, she said. I used to be like you. Eron's breath caught. There are no human advisors. Mara smiled thinly. Officially. One of the Lyrians spoke next, his voice low and resonant. We are the Continuance faction. We exist to ensure the Empire survives change. By hiding. Eron asked. By anticipating. The second Lyrian replied. By guiding inevitability. Eron crossed his arms. And you think I'm inevitable? Mara met his gaze. You already are. The broadcasts. The right. The assassination attempt. Humans are talking. Non-aligned species are watching. You're a variable no model predicted. Eron shook his head. I didn't ask for this. No, Mara agreed. But you're here. She gestured, and the archive shifted. Images of human innovations filled the air. Improvised tech. Cultural crossovers. Rebellions that became reforms. Humans don't conquer by force, she continued. You change the rules until conquest becomes irrelevant. Eron felt a chill. And you want to use that? We want to survive it, the Lyrian corrected. A new projection appeared. Fleet movements. Council votes. Probability curves trending toward red. Civil war, Mara said. Within 3 cycles. With you as the spark. Eron's jaw tightened. So what's your solution? The second Lyrian stepped closer. We place you where pressure is highest. Where your influence forces adaptation rather than fracture. Eron laughed bitterly. You mean you throw me into the fire and hope the Empire doesn't burn? Yes, the Lyrian said simply. Silence settled. Eron thought of the human quarters, of the broadcast that painted him as a traitor, of Salith standing alone against the council. Does the princess know about you? He asked. Mara hesitated. She suspects. That answer mattered more than they realized. You're asking me to act without her, Eron said. We're asking you to act beyond her, Mara replied. Even heirs are constrained by tradition. Eron turned toward the exit. I'm not your weapon. No, Mara said softly. You're our mirror. He stopped. What happens if I refuse? The projections shifted again. This time, casualty estimates. Human losses spiked first. They won't kill you, Mara said. They'll discredit you, undermine you, turn your people against you until the symbol collapses. Eron closed his eyes. For the first time, the weight of billions did not feel abstract. It felt personal. What do you want me to do? He asked. Mara smiled, not unkindly. Speak. Publicly. Not as consort. As human. Eron opened his eyes. That would violate Imperial protocol. Yes, the Lyrian said. Which is why it will work. A new alert pulsed on Eron's wrist. Salith. She was calling him. Mara stepped back. Whatever you choose next, she said, will define more than your fate. Eron stared at the alert, then at the faction. He answered, Where are you? Salith's voice asked, calm but edged with steel. Somewhere honest, Eron replied. Silence crackled. Come back, she said. They are moving. So am I, Eron said. He ended the call before doubt could form. Outside the chamber, alarms finally began to sound. Not for a disaster, for a declaration. The declaration did not come from the throne. That alone shattered precedent. Imperial networks lit up across the Aura Prime, and beyond as a non-authorized broadcast, forced its way onto every public channel. Military briefings, civilian entertainment, council deliberations, all overridden by a single feed. A human face filled the screen. Eron Vale stood in a stark chamber, no banners behind him, no symbols of authority, just neutral light and a steady gaze. He wore the same gray tunic from the right, unaugmented, unarmored, unhidden. My name is Eron Vale, he began. His voice carried without amplification tricks. Calm, measured, human. I am not speaking as a consort or as a political instrument. Across the palace, Princess Salith froze mid-stride as the broadcast hijacked her private channel. I am speaking because silence has always been the Empire's most effective weapon, Eron continued. And I am done being silent. The reaction was immediate. Counselors shouted orders. Engineers scrambled. Nothing worked. The continuance faction had done their work well. Eron's image shifted, projections appearing beside him. Footage of human labor zones. Infrastructure diagrams showing human-led efficiency gains. Records of casualty disparities. For decades, humans have been classified as adaptable assets, he said. That classification has justified our expendability. His eyes hardened slightly. Adaptability does not mean infinite tolerance. On human enclaves across the stars, people stopped working. Tools fell from hands. Conversations died mid-sentence. Eron took a breath. I did not seek power. I repaired systems. I kept the lights on while others made decisions. The feed cut briefly, then stabilized stronger than before. When I whispered something foolish in a quiet corridor, the Empire responded with scrutiny, violence, and fear, he said, not because the wish was dangerous. He leaned closer to the camera, but because it revealed how fragile the system truly is. In the council chamber, House Viral representatives slammed fists against their sigil thrones. Military commanders began issuing counterstatements. None reached the public. Princess Salith watched, her expression unreadable. This is not a call for rebellion, Eron said. Rebellion assumes replacement. I am not offering that. A pause. Long enough to breathe. I am offering evolution. Non-aligned species feed spiked. Analysts leaned forward. This was not rhetoric they recognized. Humans do not thrive under static hierarchies, Eron continued. We break them. We rebuild them. And then we live inside what we make. He gestured to the data. Every system you depend on has been touched by human hands, improved by human improvisation. The broadcast shifted again. A simple statistic appeared. System failures pre-human integration, high. System failures post-human integration reduced. This empire already relies on us, Eron said. You just refuse to acknowledge it. Princess Salith exhaled slowly. This was no longer containment. This was exposure. Change is coming, Eron concluded. You can guide it, or you can be crushed by it. He straightened. I will not be a symbol you weaponize. I will be a voice you must answer. The feed cut. For 3 seconds, the Empire was silent. Then the responses detonated. Human quarters erupted, not in violence, but in speech, messages, assemblies, coordination. Non-aligned species issued formal statements of support. Some council houses retreated into closed deliberation. Others mobilized fleets. Alarms blared across the palace. Salith moved. She entered the crisis chamber as generals argued, counselors shouted, and probability models spiraled. They have crossed a line. One counselor snarled. The human must be detained immediately. Salith's voice cut through the noise like a blade. He is under my protection. This is no longer a matter of tradition, another argued. It is security. Salith stepped forward, eyes blazing, then acknowledged the truth. The security you fear failing is the one humans have been holding together. A general turned. You knew he would do this. Yes, Salith said. And so did you. Silence followed. Not agreement. Recognition. A new alert appeared. External fleet movements. Unauthorized but coordinated. House Viral. Allied blocks. Civil conflict probability has exceeded threshold. An AI announced. Salith closed her eyes briefly. Find him, she ordered, before someone else does. Elsewhere in the palace, Eron stood alone again, the aftermath washing over him. His console pulsed with incoming messages. Support. Threats. Please. One message stood out. From Salith. You have changed the board. He typed back. From Run. Then let's stop pretending this was a game. The palace trembled slightly as ships repositioned in orbit. The Empire had heard a human voice. Now it had to decide whether to listen or burn. War did not arrive with a declaration. It arrived with adjustments. Fleet trajectories altered by fractions of a degree. Supply corridors quietly rerouted. Patrol schedules modified under the pretense of heightened readiness. To most citizens, nothing appeared wrong. To those who understood systems, everything was screaming. Eron Vale felt it first in the data. Human networks, informal, decentralized, ignored by imperial oversight, began sharing patterns. Trade slowdowns, energy rationing, silent arrests in fringe sectors. The kind of pressure designed to provoke a reaction without creating a martyr. They were testing him. Princess Salith reached him in a secure chamber beneath the palace, shielded from surveillance by old, inefficient tech. She looked tired for the first time since he had met her. They are isolating you, she said. Softly, Eron nodded. They're isolating everyone who listens. She studied him. You have accelerated events beyond even my projections. That was the point, he replied. Yes, she said, which is why the response will be decisive. A projection appeared between them. Fleet clusters forming along disputed borders. Not an invasion, a demonstration. They want to force my hand, Salith continued. If I deploy Imperial forces to counter House Viral, it becomes civil war. If I do nothing, I appear weak. Eron frowned. What about diplomacy? Salith gave a humorless smile. Diplomacy requires shared reality. They no longer believe humans belong in it. Eron paced. Then we changed the cost-benefit equation. She raised an eyebrow. You have a proposal. I have a network, he corrected, and a species that solves problems by breaking assumptions. Salith folded her arms. Explain. Eron brought up a map. Not political borders. Infrastructure. Power grids. Transit hubs. Communication relays. You don't fight fleets head-on, he said. You make them irrelevant. Her eyes narrowed, interest sharpening. You propose sabotage. I propose redundancy failure, Eron replied. Human design systems are resilient because they assume failure. Lyrian systems assume compliance. He looked at her. Your admirals have never considered that logistics can rebel. Salith was silent for a long moment. This would require coordination across sectors, she said. At scale. Eron nodded. Already happening. Humans talk. Constantly. You just never listened. An alert flashed. Unauthorized fleet maneuver detected. House Viral had moved early. Salith straightened. They intend to provoke me. Then don't respond like an empress, Eron said. Respond like a systems engineer. He began issuing commands, not orders, but suggestions. Human nodes responded instantly. Cargo delays. Maintenance cycles extended. Energy redistribution requests filed simultaneously across dozens of systems. Nothing illegal. Nothing overt. The effect was immediate. Fleet readiness dropped. Not catastrophically. Just enough. In the council chamber, confusion spread. Timelines slipped. Assumptions failed. They will accuse you of orchestrating this, Salith said. Eron met her gaze. Let them. Another alert. A Viral-aligned cruiser suffered propulsion failure. No casualties. Stranded. Visible. Salith exhaled slowly. You are waging war without firing a shot. Eron's voice was quiet. Humans learned long ago that open conflict favors those already in power. She looked at him then, not as a tool, not as leverage, but as an equal. This path has no return, she said. I know, Eron replied, but neither did silence. A new message arrived. High Council emergency session. Salith straightened, regal once more. They will demand your arrest. And you? I will refuse, she said. Then they'll move to depose you. Her eyes flashed silver. Let them try. The palace shook, not from attack, but from the ripple effects of thousands of small human decisions altering imperial momentum. For the first time in its history, the Lyrian Dominion faced an enemy it could not intimidate. Coordination. Princess Salith turned to Eron. Stand with me in the council chamber. He hesitated. That makes me a target. You already are, she said. Then softer, but not alone. As they walked toward the chamber, a final alert flashed across Eron's console. House Viral status. Logistical collapse imminent. Eron closed his eyes briefly. This was no longer about survival. It was about what replaced the Empire once fear stopped working. The High Council chamber had never felt small before. It did now. 12 sigil thrones hovered in tight formation, their occupants tense, luminous forms flickering with restrained aggression. Tactical feeds scrolled along the chamber's periphery, each one telling the same story in different language. Delays, failures, confusion, not defeat, not yet. Princess Salith entered first, her stride measured, her presence commanding silence, without effort. Eron Vale followed one step behind, unarmed, unarmored, his very existence an act of defiance. The murmurs began immediately. You dare bring him here. This is provocation. He has destabilized 3 sectors. Salith raised a hand. The chamber stilled. You convened this emergency session, she said evenly. I have answered. A counselor from House Viral leaned forward, its form crackling with barely contained fury. You shelter the architect of this collapse. That is no longer a political choice. It is treason. Eron felt the word land like a physical weight. Salith did not look at him. You accuse without evidence. Evidence floods our channels, the counselor snapped. Human networks coordinating logistical interference. Civil compliance eroding. Fleets immobilized. Eron stepped forward. The chamber reacted instantly. Defensive fields flared. Weapon systems primed. Salith's voice cut through it all. Stand down. Reluctantly, they did. Eron's heart hammered, but his voice remained steady. You're wrong about one thing, he said. I didn't architect this. The counselor hissed. Then who did? You did, Eron replied. Over decades. The feeds behind him shifted. Historical data surfaced. Human labor integration. Deferred maintenance. Cost-saving measures. Quiet decisions compounding into dependence. You optimized the Empire for control, not resilience. Eron continued. Humans filled the gaps you created. Now you're surprised the structure bends when we move. A different counselor spoke, quieter but sharper. You admit to manipulation. I admit to communication, Eron said. The same thing every species here does for its own survival. House Viral surged forward. Enough. This experiment has failed. The human must be removed. Salith stepped between them and Eron. No, she said. The word echoed. You will not detain him, she continued. You will not silence him, and you will not undo what has already changed. A counselor sneered. You overestimate your authority. Salith's eyes blazed. Then let us test it. She raised her hand. A single command rippled through the chamber. Imperial seal, activated. Every sigil throne flickered. Access privileges recalibrated. Emergency authority protocols engaged. Gasps, actual gasps, rippled through the council. You invoked the seal without consensus, one counselor said. That requires an existential threat, Salith finished, which you have created. The feed shifted again, this time to the outer systems. Human enclaves standing down from labor, not in protest, but in coordination. Non-aligned species issuing conditional support to Salith's claim, pending reform. The balance was tipping. Eron felt it. The moment when momentum becomes gravity. House Viral made its final move. If the heir refuses correction, its counselor snarled, then the heir is unfit. A hidden signal pulsed. Eron saw it too late. The chamber's defensive lattice reconfigured, not to protect, but to isolate. A coup, precise and bloodless. Salith stiffened as energy fields snapped around her. Traitors, she said softly. Guards loyal to Viral moved in. Eron did not think. He acted. He accessed the nearest console, old interface, human updated firmware. He rerouted power from ornamental displays, from non-essential systems, from prestige. The isolation field flickered. Once, twice, then collapsed. Eron grabbed Salith's arm and pulled her back as guards stumbled, disoriented. The chamber erupted into chaos. Salith straightened instantly, authority reasserted. This session is concluded, she declared. By my order. The Imperial seal flared brighter. House Viral's sigil throne dimmed, access severed. Their feeds went dark across the Empire. Silence followed. Heavy. Absolute. Eron released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Salith turned to him, eyes searching his face. You saved my life. You would have done the same, he said. She held his gaze. Yes, which is why this can no longer be undone. A final alert appeared, projected for all to see. House Viral. Status dismantled. Fleet command revoked. The council understood then. This was no longer about a human consort. It was about a system that had learned how to adapt and could not be forced back into obedience. The Empire did not fall. It transformed, not in a single proclamation, not with cheering crowds or burning banners. Change arrived the way humans always delivered it, through quiet, irreversible shifts that made the old way impossible to return to. House Viral's removal sent shockwaves through every tier of power. Councils recalibrated, military blocks fragmented, then reformed under new oversight. Systems once governed by decree began operating through consensus, simply because that was the only way they still functioned. Eron Vale stood at the edge of the palace balcony, watching the city below reorganize itself in real time. Transit lanes adjusted, power distribution smoothed. Human-led coordination hubs replaced outdated command chains. It was working. Princess Salith joined him, her mantle replaced by a simpler uniform. No crown, no armor, just authority earned the hard way. The council has ratified the adaptive charter, she said, human representatives included. Eron exhaled slowly. They didn't have much choice. No, Salith agreed. They had understanding. She turned to him. You changed how the Empire defined strength. He shook his head. Humans didn't change anything. We just refused to pretend the old definitions still worked. They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of everything they had survived settling into something quieter. He thought of the whisper that started it all, a careless sentence in a silent hall. So, Eron said, what happens to the wish? Salith looked at him, silver eyes unreadable. It was never about romance, she said, or tradition. No, he agreed. It was about visibility. She nodded. And partnership. Below them, a new broadcast began. Not an override, not a hijack, An invitation. Human and Lyrian voices shared the channel, outlining reforms, acknowledging failures, setting timelines. Eron felt something loosen in his chest. For the record, he said, I never expected to survive this. Salith allowed herself a small, genuine smile. Neither did the Empire. She stepped closer, not as ruler to subject, not as heir to asset, as an equal. The Union will proceed, she said, not as a symbol imposed from above, as a choice ratified by the people it affects. Eron met her gaze. That's a lot of pressure for a systems engineer. You are no longer invisible, she replied, but you are still human. That mattered. Days later, the ceremony was not held in the throne hall. It took place in the Central Transit Nexus, a place built, maintained, and improved by human hands. Lyrians stood beside humans. Non-aligned species watched without fear. No crowns, no kneeling, only acknowledgement. As the vows concluded, Eron felt the shift ripple outward. Not domination, not conquest, integration. The Empire would never be static again. And somewhere, deep within the palace infrastructure, an old system updated its core parameters. Adaptability required. Silence deprecated. Eron looked out over the gathered crowd and finally understood what had frightened the council so deeply. Humans did not need to rule. They needed to be heard. As the broadcast ended, Salith took his hand, firm and steady. This is just the beginning, she said. Eron nodded. It always is. If this story held you even for a moment, take a second to support the channel. Like the video, share it with someone who loves HFY Sci-Fi, and subscribe to HFY Soundscape for more stories where humanity refuses to stay small. Because sometimes, all it takes to change an empire is a whisper that refuses to stay quiet.